in Clubhouse together. Let me get in on Clubhouse. So we're in here together. Hi, Facebook. Before everybody gets in on Clubhouse, while still getting set up, we are excited about um, this very serious Facebook Live, Clubhouse. Hopefully, we got YouTube out here as well. It doesn't make sense that one fourth of the world doesn't have access to clean water, and we can really do something about it. We're not going to just talk about it, we're going to do something about it. So make sure you share with friends seriously. You know, we're very serious about when we did Eco Village. We've got 41 houses thanks to organizations like Ambassadors of Grace, Apostle Eckhart, Francina Norma was a part of helping us, Daniel and Jennifer Cruz, Living Word, TOP, so many came together. And now it's time to take the people.
Well, good evening water. And welcome everyone to Water is Life, our first room under John Eckhart Missions. And if you'll be kind enough to ping someone in the room, we did change our settings. I did not realize that people had to apply to become a part of the club. And so I changed it earlier today to make it public to everyone. So we're going to continue to expand the club, make it as easy as possible for people to follow. And I want to thank all of you, those of you who have joined this club. And, oh, the room is locked. Okay, let me unlock this room. I don't know why that's locked. Let me see. I need to unlock this room because that's pin a link, search your room, audio quality. Okay, I can't. Let me see here. Okay, I'll unlock this room. I'm seeing now. Okay. Okay.
It's unlocked, Apostle.
Okay, thank you. I just unlocked it. I don't know why it locked. We'll have to fix that as well and give a chance for more people to come in. Thank you so much, Octavia, for letting me know that if she's, let me bring you up, Octavia, to moderate as well. Thank you. Okay. Again, welcome to the first room under John Eckhart Missions called Water is Life. And I appreciate your coming on and being a part of this missions room tonight. I do want to also thank Dr. Bailey for being a part of this room tonight. I'm going to kind of interview her and have her talk about this because this is something that is so close to her heart. She's been doing it for a number of years. And we also want to be able to bless her financially in her project that she's doing now in South Africa. So I want to welcome her, of course, to the platform and interview her and talk about the importance of water, natural water, clean water, fresh water, which is often taken for granted by most of us who live in America. We go to our homes, we cut on our faucets, we can drink clean water, we can bathe and shower in clean water, we can go to the store and get water. So it's no problem for most of us. But for many in the world, this is not the case. And the challenging thing I want to address, and I'm going to just really begin to challenge Dr. Bailey with some of these questions that have been on my heart. First of all, let me say welcome, Dr. Bailey, to the room.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. I'm very excited.
And let me ask you this first question. How long have you been involved in water projects to different parts of the world?
Well, it began when we first started, and I was 21 years old, going into East Africa with the Osborns. So I'm 63 next month. So it's been a number of years. I can remember spearheading my first well project, not as you know, with us being the one to spearhead it, as opposed to going along with other people doing it. And that would have been in the year 1998, 98 or 99 for Apostle Frederick K.C. Price, because he had a passion like you. He said it didn't make sense for all of these nations not to have clean water, and he himself personally wanted to do a well. So he entrusted us to go to Ghana in the 1990s. We went 18 hours by road with a rig, an 18-wheeler rig, up in a place called up north of Bolgatanga, a place called Yagba, just south of Ouagadougou, Burkina Faso, and did a well there. That was the first one that we spearheaded. And they drilled 100 feet into the ground and hit an underground source. They were sitting on a whole underground spring all along and never knew it, with the people having all of those diseases and dying early, and infant mortality rate and life expectancy short. And they were sitting on all that water and just never had anybody to come and drill for them. So that's been quite a few years.
Now, let me first of all ask you, this is 2022.
Mm-hmm.
And you would think with all of the technology in the world, all of the money that has been provided for nations, you look at the United Nations, you look at UNICEF, you look at different organizations that have been doing this for many, many years. How is it that in 2022, we still have large populations of people that have no access to clean water? What is the problem?
4% just in South Africa alone of the people, of all the diseases that people suffer the most, is waterborne diseases. In the whole continent of Africa, the rural areas, as well as in some of the, because it's hard to believe that Nigeria, I said that this morning, that Nigeria and Congo are the two leading countries in the continent of Africa that have the worst water problems. Yet they are the most mineral resourced countries, meaning they're the wealthiest mineral resource countries. So it's not like it's a money problem or resource problem. So for so long, the mindset in the continent has been um, based on aid and not requiring the leadership to do what is required to provide the basic essential needs for the people. The resources are there, and it's going to be some hard facts because you asked me the question, Apostle. So, during the days of colonization, and these nations now became independent, what happened was the World Bank, the IMF, these organizations, the World Economic Forum, made loans to developing countries. And so you're talking about people that got thrust into leadership. And in cases like Congo, Rwanda, Uganda, and even in some Nigeria, some of the leadership, it's been a travesty that the people you would think in leadership now would immediately correct the wrongs and the ills of the days of colonization for their own people. But once they got in power and had access, many, not all, to the wealth and the money and the resources and minerals, instead of providing for the basic needs of the people, corruption, greed. And so you take a country like Nigeria with hundreds of millions of people, and with the need of clean water is such a lack when they provide billions of dollars a day, every year, every billions of dollars every day in oil. And so people learn to live without clean water. You just accept that the government is not going to do anything about it, and it just, the beat goes on. And so, for an example, like South Africa in the Eco Village, the municipality, we respect them, and we think that they're trusting us and asking us to take care of families for them and help them. But it is the job of the municipalities to provide clean water. With the UN itself, there are basic needs that they say these are the basic rights of people: clean water, education, human rights. And the basic rights are being denied, and people just learn to live without it because the pressure is not placed on the leadership to provide what are the basic needs of people. So let's go to South Africa again. Cape Town, a very affluent city, and yet Cape Town has one of the worst water problems. South Africa, believe it or not, is one of the driest countries in the continent of Africa. Well, let's look at all the wealth in South Africa. Apostle, you've been there several times. You got diamonds, you got oil, you got uranium, you got platinum, you got wealth, and yet there's a lack of clean water. And clean water can be provided for 12 cents a day. I'm going to go real slow. 7.8 billion people on the face of the earth, and one fourth, they don't have clean water. And I think what happens, Apostle, is we don't see it for what it's really worth, in that I like to use this as an example to kind of break it down in the most simplest form. If we were living during the era of time of David, when the children of Israel were being the greatest crisis, or the greatest threat to the people of God was Goliath. So that was the greatest crisis, that's the greatest threat, that would have been the greatest terrorist. So at that time, the people of God didn't just tuck their tails, ignore him. Well, the Israel, the army of Israel, they were afraid of him. But at least David rose up and said, "Is there not a cause?" He didn't ignore the greatest crisis. He didn't ignore the greatest threat. He didn't ignore the greatest terror. So, but you could physically see Goliath in front of your face. Well, you see, with lack of clean water, it's kind of not like up in your face for those of us who have clean water, because we have it. We don't think about that threat and that crisis that's claiming more lives, kill more people, the lack of clean water and the lack of sanitation. People, please think about that with me. Let's go there in our thinking. Those two global crises kill more people every year, every year, every year, every year, more than COVID, more than Ebola, more AIDS, more than starvation, more than any nuclear threat. And we just learn to cohabitate with it. And so for those who do have clean water and are blessed, it is incumbent upon us to say, we want the same thing for other people. And it convicts us and it bothers us. Just like you, Apostle, you can see it has been stirring for a long while in you. It doesn't make sense to you. You're saying why is this? They have provided cell phones throughout the whole continent of Africa. They distributed condoms throughout the whole continent of Africa. They're distributing the vaccine throughout the continent of Africa, but we can't do clean water. And so let's go back to the common denominator that I spoke of earlier. The countries that have the greatest water problems are the countries that have the greatest mineral resource. Could it be that there is a lord of poverty that doesn't want development, that wants these countries to remain crippled in these areas, because they possess the greatest resources? Because when the majority of the country has clean, proper water, it affects the economy, it affects the health, it literally affects the education. Children can't think clear with a clear head with cholera. Children can't be at the top of their academic potential because 70% of the body is water. So if they don't have access to water, guess what that's doing to the brain, to the body? I wish we had Kim Allen on here. She could break it down better than I ever could. But the whole functionality of the body doesn't even have what it needs to be to function properly. So it just goes, it's just like a dominoes effect. It's a dominoes effect. And I believe that the United Nations and IMF and Warren Buffett and George Soros and all of these philanthropists that are billionaires, that are globalists, why isn't clean water the most important factor, equal to COVID, equal to Ebola when it was? Because it literally claims more lives. And people just learn to live without the clean water because they don't expect, Apostle, this is the part that breaks your heart, they don't expect that anybody's going to come and help them out there in the eco village where we're working. What delayed a lot of our construction projects, people just don't know what it's like behind the scene. What delayed a lot of our construction projects for many days, there were days we had all of the equipment, we had all the contractors, we had everything, but the government because there is a water crisis in South Africa, there's a water shortage in South Africa. They basically, and because now that we've lived there, now we have the two mission houses there. They'll let you know, like by this time the water's going to be off. But that's if you're in places, Apostle, like Santon and where the mission houses are. But out in the squatter camps, you think they get any kind of notice that there's not going to be any water? Who's sending an email to them? There's no internet. Who's telling them for the next 2 days or 3 days or 1 week there's going to be no water? Nobody. Nobody. So they just learn to live without it. So there's open defecation, where there's every open, exposed water source that may be stagnant. Then there's open defecation. There's the lack of waste management, which breeds cholera, breeds typhoid, breeds dysentery. And so the people just learn they can't bathe that day. They can't have the women can't have the water they need for cooking. I remember one day, Apostle, then when we had to do, we needed cement. We were trying to cement things and so we needed cement and sand. You got to mix it with water. And we going for miles and miles with the trailer with JoJo tanks, Apostle, on the back of the trailer looking for water because there's no access to water. And so people, and the government should be providing that there is allocated money with that government to provide clean water. We just finished doing the sewage, doing the septic tank, so that they can have sewage, so they don't have to live with the babies don't have to live with open defecation, because that's what breeds the diseases. They could easily bring sewage over, but we're not waiting on the government to do it. I love the lead that you're taking. I love the stand that you're making, the saying we don't have to wait on the government to do it. There's enough believers. I love the examples that you give. What we pay for a designer bag or designer belt or to get our hair done or to get a designer pair of shoes. And there's nothing wrong with any of those things. Nobody's hating on that. But at some point, our value system has to shift. At some point, we got to truly live out what the Bible says is the true essence of Christianity. Love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, all thy mind, all thy soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Why is no one put into accountability to provide clean water? Give an example. In South Africa, during the days of apartheid, men like Stevie Wonder stood up and said, I'm not going to do Sun City. I'm not going to perform at Sun City until there are equal rights, equal human rights for Black South Africans. And because those type of stands were made, just like sanctions with different companies, somebody took a stand and said, enough is enough. Somebody said, this is not acceptable. I'm not going to be desensitized to this. And because that stand was made, a change came forth. That same type of stand has to be made for clean water, to say we're not going to wait on the government. We have enough. There's $12 trillion in disposable income circulating around the four walls of the church worldwide. There's 350,000 churches worldwide. Let that sink in. We have our own revenue. We have our own gross national product, guys. And especially when you consider it can be provided for 12 cents a day. This borehole that you inquired about, the borehole is like right at $3,000. Actually, the borehole is about 20, I think it was about 25, 20, something like that. The other $600 was for the faucets and the sinks, for the hardware, for the plumbing. So you're basically saying for 3,000 or less, 50 families, at least 50 families forever, as long as God has water underground, they can have access to water. Not just water. This water is going to be certified by the company, the borehole company, and nobody's going to charge anybody for this water, Apostle. This water will be free to the families in the Eco Village community and as many as we can reach. So their answers, their solutions, I literally believe, the end to your question, that it is literally by design to keep the most mineral resource countries crippled, undeveloped, majoring on the minors instead of the things that would bring sustainability, that would bring economic sustainability in so many other areas, because it would advance those nations to a whole nother level. If they've been able to do what they're doing without clean water, Congo, what could Congo do if they had clean water? Listen, the infant mortality rate change, the life expectancy would change. the educational quality would change. It would just change the whole shape of the nation. And when you look at the nations that don't have clean water, those are the nations that don't develop economically as much as they possibly can. Does that make sense, Apostle?
Yes, well, water is life.
Yep.
I'm amazed that when you read the scriptures, how much it talks about water, of course, being a type of the Holy Spirit, but also how many instances in the Bible that we have wells, men digging wells, with Jesus at the well, meeting the woman at the well. We find Rebecca at the well. The Isaac had to redig wells. So there's so much in the scripture about rivers and wells and water, because you cannot live without water. Water is life. And of course, Dr. Kim talks about this a lot, how much of our body is made of water. Dr. Kim, why don't you comment on that for us, please, concerning our physical body and how important it is to have not only water, but good water.
Absolutely, Apostle. Good evening to you, and thank you so much for the opportunity. Dr. Bailey, I'm here right under you.
Okay.
On the stage and in the room. Absolutely. First of all, let's talk about we are water. We are over 80% water, and our body, different parts of our body, literally sit in water. Our blood is like 3% water.
Wow.
Our brain is over 74% water. Our kidneys is at least 83% water. Our liver is 86% water. Our bones are 22% water. Our muscles are even 76% water. Our skin is 70% water. We are water. A lot of the times, different diseases and diagnoses that we get is because we're simply dehydrated. If we get enough water, we will get our headaches, high blood pressure medicine, high cholesterol medicine. Another thing, water is transportation. So whatever supplements or whatever nutrition, even your food, it literally takes that food, breaks it down, and distributes it to all the blood, the brain, the kidneys, the liver to receive what it needs to receive. When we don't get water, it actually pulls out of our colon and our gut any water reserve, and that's why we're foggy, we can't think, we have constipation. And so water is key. Water is life. Water is vitality. That's something that's very difficult for us to live without. And it's amazing some of the things that Dr. Pat said, because this is how diseases can fester, can spread, when water is not in place. And so it's blowing my mind, as you're sitting here talking to us, that people don't even have water. One more thing, you can immerse yourself in water, even take a shower in water, and our largest organ, which is our skin, when it opens up and receives that water, it actually will boost our immunity. When we go from hot to cold and receive that water, it will even boost our immunity. So they are even being deprived of immunity boost from being able to emerge in water and good clean water. And so I'll just stop there. I can go on and on about water. I love water. I drink water. Now, one more thing, spring water, artesian water, alkaline water, all important. The kinds of water, the purity of water, because hydration to the cellular level is also important. So I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
I wanted to say this. When God created the earth, he, of course, I believe, put enough water on the earth for every person to be able to enjoy the benefits of water. And sometimes when you think of water, you only think about bodies of water that you see on the surface, whether it's the ocean, whether it's lakes, whether it's ponds, whether it's rivers. But there's even an amazing amount of water underground.
Underground.
You talked about. There's probably more water underground
It
than
is.
there is on top.
It is.
It is.
It is.
And you talk about digging boreholes and digging wells. So I know that there's enough water on the planet for everyone to
everybody
have what they need to live. Who has done the most, and not just in church, but who has done the most in the secular realm whether it's, I don't know, is it UNICEF? Is it Red Cross? Who's done the most to bring water to people?
You know what, Bishop? Apostle, guess what? It's going to blow you away. The Catholics. The Catholics, the Episcopalians, and the Lutherans.
Wow.
When we were working at the largest refugee camp in the world, in Dadaab, on the Somali border, back in the days of the East African famine, I tell the story all the time. And when we finally got access into the camps by the General Secretary, and they had everybody all set up, Osfam was there, uh, UNICEF, everybody was all there. And the people that had the logistics for water and providing water and distributing water were the non-tongue talking denominations. And I thought, how interesting. And then I thought about this scripture. If you speak in the tongues of angels and you have not love or charity or charitable deeds, it's nothing. So I think sometimes we overemphasize certain areas. And so for to them, what they've done is amongst their teachings and creating an awareness to their people, they have done the job of what you're doing now to create an awareness to say to people, water is life. People, how are you going to preach the gospel to people that are dead? How are you going to get the gospel to people that don't exist? You got to keep them alive so they can hear the gospel. So, like you say things like this, Apostle, and I listen to you. You say things like people comparing about who's got the biggest church and who's got more people in their room and who's driving this kind of car and who's got this kind of title. Well, they're not making an emphasis on that. Their focus is on things like, how can we keep people alive? How can we get them clean water? They're mastering logistics, and even though the denominations may vary, but they don't care about the difference in the denomination. They care about the fact that the people need clean water. That opened up my eyes on another scale, on an entirely another scale, in a camp that was designed, Apostle, for 91,000 people. It was designed for, and 500,000 people living in those camps. Every 20 seconds, people. So that means since we've been in this clubhouse room, we've been here about 28 minutes from the time we started, having started at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, that would be. So since we've been here, every 20 seconds, how many 20 seconds have passed in 29 minutes, people? A child has died from the lack of having clean water. At any one time, half of the world's hospital beds. Now, did you hear what I said, everybody? One half of the entire world's hospital beds are right now occupied with patients suffering, Kim, from waterborne diseases. Over half at any one time. On an average, an African woman walks 4 hours every day to collect dirty water. Water that's contaminated, water that can, that's gonna cause sickness and disease, but she's got to have water for her family. 3.5 million people every single year die from water-related diseases. That is equal to the city of Los Angeles. So just imagine, Apostle, Los Angeles, California, where I am right now, just wiped out, just completely wiped out because of the lack of clean water. That's the reality of what's going on in the world, that we've never been taught to give attention to that. And it's like the tail wagging the dog. I used to think about this, and T.L. Osborne said it before he died. You have the mass crusades, and this is not demeaning anybody. I'm just saying so we can kind of think a little. Can we be willing to shift our thinking? Can we be willing to stretch a little more? The amount of money that's needed for crusades, the $1 million budgets have been attached to Benny Hinn crusades, to Ron Harbonket crusades, to, large crusades. And I'm not demeaning anybody, but I'm saying after that crusade is over, that was the method, Apostle, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000. Before T.L. Osborne died, he began, Apostle, to rethink things like you are. The enemy doesn't want us coming up here. He doesn't want us thinking like this. He wants us to keep having activity. He wants us to keep having church. And the enemy doesn't mind us having all that activity inside the four walls of the church, long as we don't go and impact the nations. So he said before he died that if he had to do it all back over again, Apostle, he would have had day sessions teaching literacy. I think I've shared that with you before, that he would have had literacy with the pastors during the day. He would have had logistics and strategies to provide clean water for those rural village pastors. Why? Because after the crusade is over and they go back to their village, if they got healed from elephantitis, Kim, if they got healed from cholera, if they got healed from dysentery, if they got healed from typhoid, at the crusade, everybody in this room, what's going to happen to them when they go back to their rural village and they still got that contaminated water? They're going to get sick again. So it wasn't even a good resources of a good stewardship of kingdom resources to not pay attention to the water. But like you keep saying, Apostle, it's all in the Bible. In 2 Kings, what is it, 2:19, when the water was contaminated, and they called the prophet to put the salt in the water, and the women were having miscarriages and things like that because the water was contaminated. He didn't call on Red Cross, UNICEF, and you and none of these organizations. Call on the people of God to heal the water, to cleanse the water. So I feel like the same God isn't coming upon us to do what God has already given us. He said, I've given you all things that pertain to life and godliness. And you just said it, Apostle. The majority of the water is underground. It's like those people in Ouagadougou. They were sitting there with the water right underground, but no one to drill it for them. That Ethiopian eunuch said, how can I unless somebody show me? So people that are sitting there dying because of these diseases, not having clean water, they're sitting on their solution. Let's just say it that way. They're sitting on their solution.
You know, I think one of the problems, Dr. Bailey, with many, you talked about Catholics, Presbyterians, Anglicans. I think one of the problems that we had in the more evangelical, Pentecostal, charismatic circles is that because we have always thought that the world is about to end and Jesus is coming tomorrow. So let's get as many people saved as we can, as quickly as we can, have crusades. And again, we should reach out in salvation to people, but we never had a long-term view about developing nations, a kingdom view about developing nations, because most of us thought we're not going to be here tomorrow. Here we are, 2022, and some of these nations have been independent for what, 30, 40, 50 years. And our theology sometimes prevents us from having a kingdom view of developing economies, developing nations. We just emphasize going in, having a crusade, having people commit to the Lord, and then have them go back to their dire situations, because that has basically been our theology. Whereas the Anglicans and the Presbyterians and the Catholics never had that kind of theology. They had more of a kingdom theology than we had as Pentecostals and Charismatics. And I think that needs to change. We need to not only look at getting people saved, but also helping them in their lives, their families, their nations, their economies. And I think that is the shift that we need to take when it comes to missions. It's not just going in, passing out tracts, passing out Bibles, having a crusade, but not giving them the resources they need to develop their businesses, their economies, and even something as simple as clean water. You know, to most people, that's not spiritual enough. You know, that's not deep enough. You know, providing water, but water is life, and God provides water. God gave us water. And when you see people in a situation like, let me just ask you this: I've been to South Africa, I've been to Lesotho, I've been to Swaziland, I've been to Mozambique, Botswana, all of that southern region. And of course, in South Africa, I've been to Pretoria, I've been to Johannesburg, I've been to Cape Town, Port Elizabeth, I've been to Durban, many of the major cities. But you know, then I've been also to some of the townships. You know, most people heard about Soweto, but South Africa has some huge townships. I've been to Kwakwa, which is a township that most people have never heard of in South Africa. And you talk about even some of the townships, and then you talk about the refugee camps which is another major problem that many people you can go to South Africa, you can go to Cape Town and stay in some nice, beautiful hotels on the ocean and, just go as a tourist and enjoy the best shopping malls and everything. But you go into some of these refugee camps or some of the outlying areas, even of the townships, and you find out that people, as you say, have to walk to get water. They don't have good plumbing. They don't have good water. It causes diseases and sickness and infirmity. And you're, of course, in the process of developing an eco-village, building homes and also teaching people how to operate in their own business and even providing water. Now, tell me, what is the water problem where you're building this eco-village?
Okay. So in South Africa, South Africans use more water per person a day than most countries in the world. South Africa is the driest country. And so because of that, the government puts these bans on water. So that affects people, gonna come back again, like those living in Sandton or these, Pretoria, But in the what they say squatter camps, the displaced settlement, the unofficial settlements, because the townships are like Alexandria, Diepsloot, those are townships. But now the squatter camp is a step that's down at the bottom. That's as far as you can go. So when there is no water, the government, there is no access to water. What they do is in some pocketed areas, they'll fill a JoJo tank up and everybody go fighting and line up to get the water out of that JoJo tank. But when that JoJo tank is gone, that's it. There's no water. And the JoJo, you should see one JoJo tank for it's 700 families out there. And so we thank God that the government, that the municipality is using our eco village as the development center, the training center, as a source for the community. We're very honored to God by that. So with this borehole, the people now who don't have water to bathe, so if you're not having water to bathe regularly, that's going to affect, Kim already brought that up, it's going to affect your health. The children can't focus. They have that dull, sluggish, We've seen what it's like when they're out there and they don't have water. Now, of course, in the rainy season, if you do have a JoJo tank, then you can take during the rainy season and catch as much water as you can. But you don't see the people, most people can't even afford the huge JoJo tanks. This borehole, they're going to drill it underground and hit the water source. The company has already marked exactly where they need to drill. And all that underground water that will now be accessible by the people through that borehole, as long as that water is underground, Apostle, they will keep having water and it'll keep going and going and going and going. And the one party in the land is Eco Village. That's the campus. It's a gated campus now with 7 or 8 buildings that's there now. The other land that has been given right around the corner is what they've named themselves Eco Sandton. That's where the 41 tiny houses are. So even when the people at Eco Sandton don't have water, they can come over. It's a little shortcut they make and come over to the campus for Eco Village, where the girls on the boards on the school and everything's going to be. And long as they got those little Jerry, they call them little Jerry tanks, little Jerry things, Jerry jugs, they can fill it up and get all the water they need. And nobody's going to be charged water. It will be free water so that people can have access to what we have access to. Now with that, you can grow gardens, because our phase right now, they've already started. Remember I showed you the pictures. They never knew what a turnip was. We took seeds over and they saw a turnip and they never seen a turnip. And they was like, what is this? And I said, no, you can eat it and you can eat the leaves too. And so we're continuing to bring seeds when we go back over. It's a community garden. They're on fertile soil. The soil is very fertile. And so with the borehole, they can water their gardens and now have sustainable, they can have food security, a way to be able to provide food for themselves. So that's the importance of being able to provide it, not to mention the health. It's going to improve the quality of health. It's going to improve their ability to learn and attention, with their academics and everything. It's just going to change the whole quality. It's just a basic essential. So the septic tank is already done. We got the sewage. We've paid for it. It's done. It's all on Facebook. And what we do, Apostle, you've seen me send the videos to you step by step. Sometimes I feel like I send so much. We'll send phase, but whatever they do day 1, day 2, day 2, when they're digging until it's completely done. And that's exactly what we'll do with the borehole. You'll be able to see live on Facebook and on Instagram, step by step each day, it actually taking place until that borehole is dug. And then the plumbing from the girls' home and the boys' home and the granny's houses and stuff, the plumbing that we're going to run lines from the plumbing on the inside, run lines to the borehole, so that the borehole now water is running into the homes for the girls' home, the boys' home, the grannies, so that they can shower, so they can have sinks, so they can brush their teeth, so that the women can cook their food. The lines are going to run right on into what we're developing as a kitchen, so that they can have just a basic quality of life. And for me, Apostle, I felt like, I turned 63, like I said, next month. And it wasn't satisfying to me to only go in and preach and to only do seminars and to only do that without leaving a tangible blueprint, a tangible footprint that there's a God who cares about you. And I'm not going to come to you and preach to you and my needs be met, and I see you living like this, and it's in my power to make life better for you for 12 cents a day. I don't want to leave that legacy to my granddaughter and my children's children, that we were a generation that could have made a difference. And, we chose not to do it. I want to say we chose to make a difference. And we may not be able to change the whole world, but we certainly can change our world, especially when it's within our means.
I do, Octavia, if you can, I do want you to put up Dr. Bailey's ministry link at the top, if we can do that, because I do want to challenge people to sow, because this is really not that expensive. How much is it to drill a borehole?
The borehole, I actually sent you the quotation from the borehole company, and it had to be like $2,400-$2,500 because it came to right at $3,000, because the $600 was the hardware for the faucets and the sink and that type of thing. So let's just say for $3,000, less than $3,000, if you add the hardware, $3,000, they can have clean water.
Yeah, and that just, again, that makes no sense to me, because that's not a lot of money. That's not $3 million. That's not $300,000. I mean, $3,000 is not an exorbitant amount to provide some basic water for people. It just blows my mind how much abundance we have in America and how much abundance we have in our own lives. There are people, Dr. Bailey, that will go into a Burberry, they'll go into a Louis Vuitton, they'll go into a
Gucci,
and they'll spend more than that on a bag and shoes. And yet, if we are not even, the people of that area don't have enough money to even dig. What is the economic level of the people that you're ministering to?
Well, that's one of the things we're doing also too. We've been doing, you see, we never stopped. From August, we never stopped. So job creation, they've been getting continual classes on money management, job creation, how to start your own business, because that's why our strategy for this phase 3 is a trade versus aid. We got to start using our brain. Trade versus aid. If we keep just doing aid and don't couple it with trade, then we create dependencies. And we don't want to do that, because God put in every human being the ability to produce. They just don't have anybody to give them anything to start with. Like the man says, the Ethiopian eunuch said, how can I unless somebody show me? Or with the man, Jesus says, take up your bed and lock the wall. But I bet he handed his hand to lift him up. And so they just need something to lift them, not a hand out, but a hand up. So what we're doing is we're teaching them from trash to cash. People that are going, they have to be patient, because a visionary sees all of this. You see it finished. But when there's a setback, like the lack of water, or a setback with something that happens with flooding, or a setback with something happens with the government, or setback in any kind of way, the vision doesn't end. You keep on moving forward. You never quit. You never stop. So what we've done, even though we came back home in November, every single day, every single week, I'm working with Pastor Tebby on the ground, training the people, teaching the people. And the thing now is job creation. They have their houses, that we're developing the community garden, and we want to develop that community garden so they can sell things. We want to develop the trash to cash. I showed you the pictures of the products where you can take Coca-Cola wrappers and trash wrappers and make wallets out of them and purses out of them and different things that they can do with what's normally would have been trash, so that they can see they have worth, that they can produce. We want to give them the dignity that you can provide for yourself. To the man, you can feed your own family. They want that. They want to work. And they say this all the time. The government never comes to us until it's election time. The government never comes over here to us until it's election time. I saw it with my very own eyes because we were there during election time. And so, I can't tell you the politicians that wanted me to stand with them and pose for the work that is being done because it's election time. But we're not politicians. We're there because we care about the people. I see Eco Village producing. I see the people self-productive. I see them having a sense of dignity because there's something down on the inside of them that has been unlocked, and that they don't have to live in poverty. The Bible commands us to lift the poor out of the dunghill. And I believe that when the Bible says the gospel of the kingdom, I believe that that's the difference between a type of gospel where it's just like a bless me gospel or just something that's temporary. The gospel of the kingdom brings transformation, and you've seen it, Apostle. If anybody's witnessed it, you have. You've seen the transformation of Uganda. We've seen the transformation of Colombia. We've seen the transformation of Rwanda, where the gospel of the kingdom came forth. So then what started happening? Enterprise, commerce, mercantile missions. That's the life that I want to see them lifted up to. And I'm willing to give the rest of my life, for as long as I'm alive, to see them not just get the gospel and hold on till you get to heaven. No, that's not what I want them to have. I want them to know that there is a gospel that brings transformation, that can unlock skills, abilities, dreams, talents. We tell our kids, dream. We bring them over, Apostle, to the vision house that you all paid for, the vision house that $180,000 came in 10 days. And when they come to that vision house, look at the pictures on Facebook. They're eating on Hermes China. They have linen. They're seeing a heated swimming pool. Never seen a pool in their life. Apostle, the kids used to run in and out the bathroom all the time, the little boys. And we kept saying, why they keep running in and out of the toilet like that, in the bathroom like that? And they kept, so one would go out and he'd bring 3 of his friends, and 2 would go out and bring another one of their friends. And so we tapped on the door, and Apostle, the cutest little thing, they had never seen a toilet. They had never seen a toilet. And when you push the button at the top of the commode, and they saw it go, they were all 3 and 4 of them all around the little toilet seat trying to TT at the same time and push the button and watch it go down and run outside and get more. And I was like, isn't this something? They've never seen a toilet because all they've had is open defecation. People, we can do better than this. We can do better than this. And then not to mention when they got to get in the pool and they got to eat on china and linen and do a vision board. Tell me what you want to become. And then I sit down and we have reading time with them and tell them to dream and do a vision board and let them make confessions and cause them to see that you don't have to be a product of what you're living in. You're in the squatter camp, but the squatter camp is not inside of you. And that's my dream. And I have a passion for this, for the people. And I thank you, Apostle, that you're helping me. You're helping me to keep going forward with it.
I really appreciate all the things that you're telling us. Let me ask you this question, Dr. Bailey. What effect has this project had on the municipality or the government of the region? What have they noticed, or what have they come to offer as a result of your doing this?
They want to use our buildings as the center for training and learning. Pastor Tebby right now is literally going and taking classes. The municipality have asked her, come and teach us how to do what you've done. Come and teach us how to reach the poor, the way you've reached the poor. Teach our other. So here she is, doesn't even have the kind of degrees. And these are people sitting here with degrees who are social workers, who have all, and people that have all these little political positions as well. She's going to now teach them how to reach the people in the squatter camps, because this squatter camp that we're in, well, I don't even call it squatter, in this area, they call it Mimosa, Elof, that part of Delmas. It was known for alcoholism, murder, uh, drugs, incest, rape. The government can see a difference. Just recently, there were floods. I showed you the letter from the mayor's office, from the speaker, saying, please house 30 families. We had someone that promised to do a church, and had we had that church apostle, we could have housed those 30 families. Look what kind of a testimony that would be to the municipality. The municipality asking us to provide blankets, food, and house the people because they're floods. How people in a flood going to wait till we decide to do something? They're in floods. And so they've seen it. They have endorsed what we're doing. When people have been burnt out, when people are homeless, when they don't have anywhere to take people, the municipality come to Eco Village for us to build a house to provide for the people. So they are just 100% behind it. They come showing it off all the time, and they're 100% behind us because it's never happened before. It has never happened out there before. This place has been neglected. It's been underserved, and nobody paid anybody any attention that came from Mimosa or from Elof. And to see, it's like, what good thing can come out of Nazareth? And to see of that first group that came over, that came over, that did the science lab. Who has a science lab in a squatter camp? Who has the kind of teaching French and English to the kids in a squatter camp? Who has solar in a squatter camp? And then now it's a testimony to many of them that have been bound in traditional religions. There's some Goa, the juju man and the medicine man and the people they go to for power. They started asking Pastor Tebby, who is your juju man that you get your power from? She said, no, it's Jesus. Jesus is the one that's doing this. And it's a wonderful testimony for the gospel of the kingdom to be preached. That's what's happening as a result of being there. The municipalities are completely proud of what we're doing.
Thank you so much. And we did put up your homepage at the top, the link, if people want to go and visit that link. Tell us about that link, what is on the link, and what they can do as far as sowing or giving by using that link.
We decided to put our water arm of the ministry, Life Through Water. It's attached to my patriciabailey.org page. So when you go to the patriciabailey.org homepage, you'll see there donate for the borehole, and it'll take you right over to Life Through Water, which you can see all the videos lined up, which we didn't just do this overnight. We didn't throw this together overnight. We've been doing this for decades now. And you see all the different countries. That's what you can look to see when you go there. You'll see Malawi Water Project. You'll see South Sudan Water Project. You'll see Haiti Water Project. You'll see Congo Water Project, South Africa Water Project, all these different countries with your own eyes. You'll see the water projects, and it's twofold what we do. We're doing the borehole now, but we also provide these filters, Apostle, that we've already provided 10 of them to Eco Village. They're a micromembrane filter, hollow filter, where it will extract typhoid, cholera. They last for 10 years. They provide 150 gallons a day. They provide no electricity, no solar, no batteries. And these micromembrane hollow filters, they will extract human feces and animal feces, taste and odor out of the water. And so we provide them so that they can now begin to take, where there is contaminated water, take this and cleanse the water. And so we use the filters, and then we use the boreholes, and then we use the well. Those are our strategies for providing clean water. They can go there and they can donate any amount. They can watch and see step by step the borehole going forth. I can't wait till we come back together and when it's completed, and let people see out of accountability what's been done, and that we've taken at least 50 families that would have never had access to clean water, would have still been using that other water, but now their whole lives will be transferred because people in this room dare to make a difference.
Yes, I want everyone in the room who would partner with us to go to that page. And there are over 200 people in this room tonight. And if everyone just sowed at least $20, that would be enough in itself
Wow.
to dig this borehole and at least begin to provide that water. And of course, I'm sowing from our ministry. I always encourage people to sow into what I'm doing, and I sow into what you're doing to help you, and I'm going to sow as well. And if you send anything to my ministry for this, I will make sure that Dr. Bailey gets it. If you want to go to my profile page, you can do that, and you can sow that way as well. And I want to get this done because there's more that I want to do for Dr. Bailey and what she's doing at the Eco Village. And also, of course, you have videos as well on
Facebook,
on Facebook,
on YouTube.
Yes. Yes, Facebook and YouTube. So how can they access that to see what you're doing?
They can go to Patricia Bailey Facebook. On my Facebook page, Patricia Bailey is my name. And as you scroll down, you'll see everything in progress, from the septic tank when we were doing those, the tiny houses when we were building those, the pictures of the vision house when the kids come over, every single part, the roofs when we redo the roofs and everything. They're all right there on Facebook. Then on YouTube, it's just my name, Dr. Pat Bailey, and you can scroll down up under the videos, and you can see all those. Or you can go to our website, which is patriciabailey.org. So again, 3 ways: patriciabailey.org, videos are there; YouTube, Dr. Patricia Bailey or Dr. Pat Bailey; or to Facebook, Patricia Bailey. And we put all the raw videos out there all the time out of accountability, so people can see where their money has gone and see the progress of it. People get excited about seeing the progress of how things are going forward.
Thank you so much. I want Octavia to open up the hand raising. I want as many people as that can sow tonight into either my PayPal or Cash App or Dr. Bailey's, or either use the different addresses. I want you to raise your hand. I'm not going to call your name. I just want to see how many people will be willing to begin. And this is not the only time we're going to do a room like this. If you've been touched by this teaching tonight and you want to sow, I want you just to hit the hand raising mic, and let's get some idea of how many people would be willing. That would encourage Dr. Bailey if she sees people actually participating and being a part of this. Thank you so much. Marina, thank you. It's good to see you as well on the in the room, and also giving and sowing. I appreciate that. We have over 40 people. We should at least, I want to believe, for at least 100 people. There are over 200 people in the room. And as I said, if 200 people would just sow $20, and in some you can do more than that, that would be enough to cover this borehole, which is only just a small project of getting water to a small amount of people. And I'm going to talk some more to Dr. Bailey about some of the water projects she does around the world, not only in South Africa, but other places as well. So I want you to hit the hand raising. We have over 40 people that are committing to sowing something, either, again, through Dr. Bailey's profile, my profile. I'll make sure she gets it, or by going to that link, the homepage of Patricia Bailey. Okay, we have 50 people now. Let's get it up to 100 people. I want to really stir you. There's a blessing. The scripture says it's more blessed to give than to receive, especially giving to those who are weaker, giving to the poor. In that context, I shared that this morning on the porch, that Acts 20, Paul said it's more blessed.
Those of you on Facebook, you can give the same way on Facebook by going to patriciabailey.org,
those who are not as strong
going to
financially, economically as you are.
Life Through Water.
And we ought to support the weak.
You can go to patriciabailey.org and give. Thank you, Facebook.
That's really the context of the verses in Acts chapter 20. The Bible says God loves a cheerful giver. There's a joy that you receive in giving. And even seeing the joy on the faces of people that have no one to help them. And when you reach out to help them, they are so overjoyed. Just a smile on their faces when you come and do projects like this. So let's try to get it up. I need about 50 more people that can just tap that mic. And again, I'm not going to call your name, even though I'm going to. I think I'll be able to see who you are and know who you are. Many of you have given in the past, and you always sow when I ask you to sow. So please, let's do this. let's get to this point. And Dr. Bailey, I want you to let me know how much we raised tonight so that we can make sure that we get this money for the borehole and get it started, get it moving. How long have you been waiting for this borehole to be dug?
Oh, well, the septic tank is done. So we've been waiting about 3 weeks for the borehole part because we had to do the septic tank before the borehole. And once we get this borehole, we connect the pipelines and then that's going to allow us to be able to help and minister and reach, more people. And also, Apostle, we're leaving in March for Belize, the same Eco Village project and things that we are doing in South Africa. We started last year, last year or so, and we're continuing in Belize as well. So it's not just providing clean water and the tiny houses and things there in South Africa. We're headed to Belize in March, taking a team there for the third time. Some of my graduates that live there are from Belize.
Okay, so I didn't know there was I've never been to Belize. I've been to all these nations in Central America, mostly Spanish speaking, all around Belize. I've been to Panama, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, all of those nations, but I've never been to Belize. And
you remember Carlton Office? Don't you remember Carlton Office? Remember?
Yeah, I remember Carlton Office. I've even had members in my local assembly that came from Belize. So I know it's a place right there in the Caribbean, right off the Caribbean. And you're doing different projects in Belize. What are some of the other nations that you've done water projects in, even if it just means bringing water filters so that people don't have to drink out of dirty ponds or dirty wells or whatever it is? What other nations have you done this in?
South Sudan. We did in South Sudan, in Malawi. Malawi is more widows in Malawi than anywhere else in the world. So our entire water project in Malawi was for widows to give them filters. We provided those widows. They have 2 million widows, and we provided filters for the team that we were with. Botswana, the rural parts of South Africa. We've done so many in the rural parts of South Africa, Botswana as well. Congo. We've done it in Haiti. I said Malawi. Several Belize. We've done it in Belize as well. All the countries are named. The Philippines. The countries are all named on the Life Through Water website. As I get old, I can't remember as many right off.
That's okay. Yeah. No problem. I just want people to really see what you're doing.
Yeah, South Pacific,
over the
Asia.
years. Yeah, Kim, you wanted to answer a question. Feel free to do so.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask real quick because you said they were abundant in minerals. Are they abundant in copper?
Absolutely.
Okay. Just a suggestion. Because I know they're very creative and wonderful with their hands. If they can make copper vessels, if you let water sit 24 hours in copper, it cleans the water. I have several copper vessels that I make sure that I keep around the house, and when I can't,
we just heard that last night. Remember?
Water or whatever, I'll get water from my sink and I'll sit it in the vessels.
Wow.
In 24 hours, and then I'm able to drink it. Or even if you can get like copper plumbing, or if we can get like major companies that have copper for the plumbing, if they can also donate that, so that while you guys are building or making the plumbing or whatever, and even the water hoses, I have like a copper on my shower head. So even if you can get like copper shower heads, copper vessels, copper pots, where you can sit water in, that also pulls toxins out of the water, even when you can't get to filters. So I just wanted to make that suggestion, and especially if they're abundant in copper.
Well, Zambia and places like that, Apostle, you know that's the copper belt. Zambia, parts of Zimbabwe.
Yeah, I've ministered in the Copper Belt. I've ministered in northern Zambia, which is close to Congo, the Copper Belt. And bring on the copper. Call in the copper. The earth is the Lord's, the fullness thereof. The gold is his, the silver is his, the copper is his, the cobalt is his, the nickel is his. It all belongs to God and it's been put in the earth for our benefit and our blessing. And unfortunately, sometimes people have hoarded and monopolized. these resources, but we just pray that it'll be released into the hands of the righteous. The wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. Or one scripture says the wealth of the sinner eventually finds its way into the hands of the just.
Wow.
We've been decreeing that in our decrees, and Dr. Bailey, of course, is also up with us in the morning making decrees. Her and I see Karen, I see Gwendolyn, all of these individuals come on, Sandy, and they do decrees in the morning. And we've really been decreeing these things to manifest and happen. And I'm excited because I've been to many of these places. I've been there personally. I paid my way to go. I sponsored many trips, many mission trips. Our church, inner city church in Chicago, we sold in 20 years, we sold $500,000 into Ethiopia.
Wow.
In Sudan. So I really believe in giving and sowing. Even though we're an inner city church, we have a missions heart. We've always had a missions heart. God opened my heart up to the nations. When I first started going there in 1989, I've been to over 80 nations. I've seen, in the Philippines, one of the things that broke my heart was when I was ministering in Manila. I was ministering in Manila, and then we went to Davao City on another island. And just in Manila, just driving by this huge garbage dump.
Yeah.
I've never seen a garbage dump. I mean,
So
it's
high.
not just one hill. Mountains of garbage and people living on the garbage dump. They were eating and digging in the garbage dump. It just blew my mind. Some of the things you see in these places, these nations, it really expands you to realize that God has given us wealth and prosperity, not only so we can enjoy it, but so, we use our faith, we believe God, but that we can also be a blessing and really bless our generation as a church. I believe the church is the agent of the kingdom. And if we're going to really expand the kingdom and let people see the kingdom, righteousness, peace, enjoying the Holy Ghost, that we need to use our resources to do that. And so,
yes,
into
Cheryl Jones, we're
these
still
kinds
doing
of
tiny
places
houses.
and
Cheryl
these
Jones, you
kinds
can
of
give a
nations.
tiny house.
And really
Message me on
now, I've been
Facebook.
to Malawi, and I didn't know that Malawi had more widows than any other African nation. And I preached in Malawi, and it's a very small country. Many have never been there, but I've had a chance to go to Malawi as well, but I wasn't aware because, as you said, Dr. Bailey, some of the things that really cause major problems are war and displacement. The refugee problem causes people to leave nations, to go to other nations, to be in refugee camps, to not have access to water or economics. It's really sad, and a disease and these things. So we really need to do our best. I want to thank all of those who have hit the hand raising and are pledging to give and to sow into this. This is a borehole. It's only, $3,000. Let's do this tonight. And I'm going to sow as well. And some people have sent me something through my giving. And I'll make sure that Dr. Bailey gets it and even gives, I give more out of my resources and what I have been able to generate through our ministry, and to really sow into this project and really just be a blessing to our generation. Of course, we can't solve all the world's problems, but we can have assignments to go to certain places. The apostolic or the apostle means a sent one. And God will send you to specific places and specific territories and specific people to bring them resources, to help them, to assist them. And it's a part, and it really does open the way for the gospel. When you touch people on this level, it really opens their heart for the gospel because they see the grace and the love of God that flows through you. Because the only thing you get from this is God's blessing and favor and their thanks. They can't pay you back financially, but you do get God's favor, God's blessing, God's grace, and you get the joy of giving. So thank all of those that are going to be a part of this. And this is the first time I've done a room under John Eckhart Missions. Now, when I opened it up, I don't see John Eckhart Missions anymore. I'll figure out how this works. But you can go to John Eckhart Missions and follow that room, if you will. I changed the settings so anyone can join. without having to go through an application process. I didn't realize it was on that setting, so we should have more people that would join and be a part of this. And we'll do some more rooms on this in the future. This is the first time I'm doing a room specifically on water. And Dr. Bailey, do you want to say anything else in closing before we close the room?
I just want to thank everybody. And I want to say that if we continue to follow you, Apostle, and allow your, is it a word called apostleship? So to follow, that's what apostle.
There is a
Yeah,
word,
yeah.
yes.
So we follow that, and we can create an awareness that can shift the way ministry is done, and it can advance the kingdom. There was a lady. I want to leave you with the story. One of the, I just tried to figure out which one out of the 41 families do I want to lead the story with, but let me just choose this one of the 41 families that have houses. See, these are the realities. You can't take these realities away. There are 41 families that are not homeless. One lady, I share with you, Apostle, she slept around from house to house and man to man. She was a young girl and picking up babies as she goes because she was sleeping because she had no place to stay. She would sleep with them for shelter and they passed her around. And then she ended up getting caught up in a human trafficking situation and with the baby. And so we gave her her own house and her keys and her little piece of land. She has a little garden now. Every time the church meets in that little shanty church that they have, that leaks water and it's horrible. Pastor should see it. I'm gonna get Pastor Tiffany to send the pictures. It's shameful. And but she's there every time the church doors open. And the church mothers, the go-go's, the grannies, they took her up under their wings. And instead of condemning her and fault finding in her, they taught her how to helping her to learn how to be a mother and how to be a virtuous woman and what it means to know Jesus and to be faithful and a part of a community and a family. She wasn't going to anybody's church. There are people that were never going to church that are there every time there's the church gathers and the meetings. Why? Because somebody provided, cared enough to provide a house for them. So as we provide clean water to these other families, 50 families and other families, it's an opportunity to let them see. One guy, he was a little young guy, he said, I didn't go to church. He's doing him. And he says, but he said, I never had anybody to give me a house. He's like, I gotta go to church. And so it, as you said, it opens up the door for the gospel. And I think we can all, what Apostle is doing, he's not asking for a lot. This little bit of sacrifice that we're making can change the lives and have such a systemic change, a whole lifetime change for someone because we care to make a little sacrifice. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. And I can't wait till you go to Facebook. We'll announce, Apostle will announce when it gets started. And when you look on Facebook, you'll see day by day, you'll see the truck pull up, you'll see them doing the digging, you'll see every single step of it until completion. I give you my word on that. Thank you so much, Apostle, and thank you for believing in me.
Thank you so much. And let me apologize. I brought many of you on the platform and didn't give you a chance to speak. And some of you may want to say something in this area. You don't have to, but I want to give you a chance to say something because you did come and spend some time with us tonight. So if you want to comment or if you want to say something, just tap your mic and I'll give you a few moments to speak if that's what you want to do before we close. You want to say something, Octavia?
Yes, two things. I love Dr. Bailey's stories. I love them. It's almost like I'm walking beside her while she like like she's taking me through the experience. That's one. And two, Apostle, the reason why the room was locked and the reason why they had to go through the process to get into this room, because remember when you started this room, it was a private room for those that was chosen for the missions project. So I've changed all the settings for it, so it won't be that way again.
Okay, thank you so much. I didn't realize. I remember doing it now. So thank you so much. Anyone else want to comment? Feel free.
Apostle, while they're waiting, let me just say this. Do you guys realize that we have the ability, if we be still and listen to God, not listen to man, not listen to flesh. When you think about the impact that the first century church made, it's a handful of people like us, guys. When I look at some of the most impactful things that have been done, Apostle, you've seen like in when South Sudan split away from Sudan, and when you've seen the kind of things that have happened in different parts of like Africa, and I mean, just it hasn't been a lot of people. There's a handful of people that said, you know what? I sense an urgency. When that mayor said, "Can you house 30 families because they're flooded? They have nowhere to go." That's making history. We have a window of an opportunity time to make an impact and let our light so shine amongst people who are not even thinking about a church. And they will see our good works and glorify our Father which is in heaven. All those little grannies, Pastor Tebby has been working so hard, and they are so grateful. She was going to try to come on here tonight. They're so grateful for all the things that we've done, and we never stopped. We have never stopped because we gave our word and we promised them. And this is what I want everybody to know. One day you may get to see them. They're so grateful. They're so grateful. And you said this, Apostle Eckhart, they don't deserve to be in the situations they've been in. They didn't ask for anything. They didn't ask for this. They didn't ask to live like this. And so when I see them being lifted, especially the grannies, and they're so grateful to see that their life has changed because we made a little sacrifice and we sensed the urgency. We heard the cry of the poor and we didn't turn a deaf ear. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Let me give. This story just came to me concerning. You mentioned South Sudan, and I was ministering with a whole team in Ethiopia, I believe in 1999. And when I went to Addis Ababa, I stayed in the hotel there, which was a Sheraton hotel, very very nice hotel.
I've stayed there. It's nice.
Yeah, it's one of the luxury editions. So I'm really Apostle first class, even though I so I want to be comfortable. I did go out to Owasso. I did go in the places where there were pythons and animals, and I have a whole story about a chimpanzee fight outside of my room. But this story, so we brought a couple of the Sudanese believers into the hotel. They'd never been in a hotel before, and so we brought them into the hotel. We go into the restaurant, and I said, "Well, order what you want." And they were sitting there. They didn't know what to do because they'd never been in a restaurant to order anything.
Wow.
And I found out that they never had a sandwich. So I'm trying to tell them, get the sandwich. They didn't even know what it was. Jesus. And then the waitress, who was an African, did not want to wait on them.
Jesus.
Because I guess she knew what level. And so we told the waitress, get over here and take their order. How dare you walk past these people because you look at them as if they don't belong here. They're with me. Get over here, take their order, give them some food. And so we ordered them some food. They ate it. They were just looking around, staring, because they'd never been in a hotel. They came from Sudan and to the meeting in Addis. And it was just another, it's mind-blowing, people. Sometimes when you encounter different people who've never experienced the things that we take for granted, and we have all the time, and so we bless them and minister to them, and and one of the things you said, Dr. Bailey, is that we need to respect the dignity of people. People are made in the image of God, and when people lose dignity, or when we treat people without dignity and respect because of their color, their background, it's really a dishonor to God. People are made in God's image, and we should always give them a way to have dignity in their lives. I love what you're doing, because you say you want to give them dignity. You don't want to treat them as if they're nobodies. You want people to have dignity. God gives us dignity. God gives us, we're made in the image of God, and we should walk in that. And so that's a story. I'll tell the chimpanzee story at a later time. When I was in Owasso, Ethiopia. As a matter of fact, I was in a city recently, and I got in a cab, and there was an Ethiopia woman that was driving. And so I said, "Are you from Ethiopia?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Well, I've been there." She was so shocked. I said, I've been to Addis, I've been to Nazareth, I've been to Owasso. And when I say Owasso, she screamed. She said, that's my hometown. Oh my God. She couldn't believe that an American had been to this remote area called Owasso. I mean, she was just overwhelmed and so happy. And she just talked with me the whole time because I'd been to her hometown, her village area in Ethiopia. So I love to see the reaction of people that when you talk to them, you recognize them, you know where they're from, you can speak to them, you honor them, you respect them, because many of them come to America and they're driving a cab, they're trying to make it. It's difficult, but just that alone ministers to me. So thank you so much, Dr. Bailey, for your vision to give people dignity. And if anyone else wants to say something, this will be your last chance to hit the mic and comment. Again, you don't have to. Thank you so much for coming and being on the platform. I really, really do appreciate your support. And I see Pastor Rasan on, and Chauncey, and Prophetess Simone, and Bruce. Bruce, I want you to, if you're watching my Facebook Lives, I have a whole collection of English football caps that I'm wearing now. And this morning, I don't know who these teams are. I wore Real Madrid. I wore Manchester City. So help me out, Bruce. Which caps are good, which teams are good, because you're a former soccer player, you're a former football player. So help me out if you see me on there with a bad cap on, and tell me not to wear that cap anymore because that team is horrible. Okay, I just wanted to let Bruce. I don't even know if Bruce hears me. He's over in the United Kingdom. God bless you. Thanks for coming up. And as always, in departing people of God, until you hear from us again, we'll do it again. God bless you and double shalom. Don't forget to go to the homepage of Patricia Bailey. Click it on. Look at it. Even if you can't give now, just look at what she's doing and be a partner with her. And let's sow and get this borehole dug. And we'll talk with you later. Again, God bless you and double shalom.
Double shalom. Double shalom.
Bye.